Welcome to a 5.5 park tour here in Bellingham. We're leaving the house and we are in the Columbia neighborhood. It is a residential neighborhood just north of downtown Bellingham. It's extremely pleasant. We're about to leave the Columbia neighborhood. On your left is the wonderful, delightful Restore, where I get a lot of supplies for my art. Here we are about ready to cross Broadway, leaving Columbia behind and entering the lettered streets, which is yet another residential neighborhood. Being closer to downtown, the lots are a little bit smaller, but you have the advantage of convenience to downtown. Here is the Half Park, a tiny little park in the lettered blocks. What's notable here is that this was the location of the first Whatcom County Courthouse that you can see right there. We're going to leave Fouts Park. We are on Prospect Street. Welcome to the back door of downtown Bellingham. The first thing that greets you on the left is our Gray Bar Hotel, our county jail. Further to the left is the Bellingham Tower, our one and only skyscraper. To the right is the old City Hall. There's a little footnote in history. When they built the jail back in the old days, they forgot to put in the shower. So the building to the right, which was the fire station, gave the daily shower to the inmates, as you can see in the simulation. Coming up on your right is a place called the Work Source. This is where you go to find a job when you get laid off. On the left is the Spark Museum. I volunteer there fixing old radios and talking about them to our visitors. We're about ready to cross Holly Street, which is our main drag through town. We are on Bay Street. We are headed towards Chestnut Street. We're going to turn left uphill. This is tricky because as you turn left, you'll actually be forced to be in the middle lane by the divider. You have to merge to the right, being careful for traffic, so you can get into the bicycle lane and continue up the hill. We're going to continue uphill until we get to the white building, which is the Herald building on the right. We're going to turn right here in this alley, which leads into the South Bay Trail. The little building on the left is the performance theater called the Bay Theater for school children performers. It's a wonderful institution. The alleys here, by the way, are quite clean, unlike many cities. The big buildings on the left is a dormitory for Western Washington University. It replaced a bunch of old, ratty, but fun art studios. Welcome to the South Bay Trail. We're going to come up to Wharf Street Instead of turning right as we did in the previous video, we're going to go straight across it to continue on the South Bay Trail. The South Bay Trail is packed gravel and dirt. It is quite firm. It is okay for most bicycle tires. Perhaps the thinnest racing tires might find a challenge here. However, you get some really wonderful views of the bay on this trail. Here, welcome to Boulevard Park. We need to cross the railroad as we enter the park. By the way, that is the main line for the Burlington Northern Railroad. We're in the park now. This is perhaps the singular most popular park here in Bellingham. Here's some shots looking back towards downtown from the park. We have a little amphitheater as well as a wonderful lawn to hang out on, whether or not there is a performance going on. Here's some more of the views that you can enjoy from this delightful little park. Here we're on the trail headed toward the Woods Coffee restaurant and coffee house right on the water. However, the area to the right of the coffee house is a lookout that is open to the public. Here are some of the views from that lookout, and here you can see the boardwalk that we're going to be riding on right now. This is a really wonderful feature of Boulevard Park, is the boardwalk. There is a brief interlude between the two halves of the boardwalk. The sign to the right is very, very important. We ask that you bicyclists please yield to pedestrians. If there's a lot of people, I will walk my bicycle and I will ask that you do so as well. We're now headed toward the Taylor Dock. The building to your left and to the right are in Fairhaven, which is a part of Bellingham. A feature of the Taylor Dock is this covered seating area. Sometimes people would jam and play music here. What's very important about Taylor Dock area is that it's popular for swimming. As you can see, there is somebody getting ready to dive in right now. The railing that I'm touching is a very popular diving board. In fact, some of the more adventuresome will stand on this bollard and dive in. I'm sorry, I'm too old and frail to do that. The more adventuresome would run down that ramp, do a somersault over the railing and into the water. Once again, I'm way too old and way too frail to pull a stunt like that. So here we are going up the ramp. The railings there are over the railroad. Let's pause and take a little peek over the railing to your right. Below us, you see the railroad. In the distance, you see the boardwalk that we were on. We're about to leave Taylor Dock. We're going to take a right as soon as we go under that gazebo. Stay on the path, and we'll eventually get off the path to the left, as you can see. There's a small street called 10th Street. We're going to stay on 10th Street, which is relatively calm, except it's a major parking area for the dock. The trail continues when 10th Street ends. We stay on this trail all the way until the continuation of 10th Street, as you can see right here. We are now in Fairhaven, which is part of Bellingham. Coming up to your left, you can see a green. This is called the Fairhaven Green. This is a lovely living room for Fairhaven. They have movies here. It's a great place to hang out. And you might be lucky. Sometimes some people will set up instruments and do a jam, which you're doing now. And you can see the dancers on the field getting ready to perform. We're going to continue on 10th Street, the lovely little gazebo to your left. We're going to now turn right on Harris Street to head down the hill. The little blue building in the distance to the right is the Community Boating Center. Anyone is welcome to rent small boats there in the summertime. It is a wonderful resource for our community. Here is the road that leads to the Community Boating Center. Off in the distance on the right is our train and bus station. This building was also the corporate headquarters for Pacific American Fisheries. The windows I'm pointing to was the Chief Executive Officer's office for the largest cannery in the United States in the mid-1900s. Let's proceed to cross the railroad tracks. We must do this carefully to ensure that we do not fall. We take it very slow. Over there is the ferry terminal for the Alaskan Ferry. Once we get beyond these bollards, you're going to turn a hard left onto that little street. This little street apparently has no name. It may be Harris, but it will lead us gently to Marine Park. Marine Park is a hidden little jewel of a park. It's not well known, however, it does serve as the finish line for the biggest event in Bellingham, which is the Ski to Sea race on Memorial Day weekend. It's a great place to hang out. It is quiet with good views, as you can see. We do ask, however, that you please stay off of the railroad tracks. That is the main line for the Burlington Northern Railroad. We're going to leave this park and head back towards Harris Street. The next part of the journey is a little bit tricky. We're going to turn right on Harris. We're going to carefully cross the railroad tracks. Once you cross the railroad tracks, take it slow. You're going to take this tiny little street. It's called 4th Street. This is how we're going to enter the portion of the interurban trail that is in Fairhaven. Do not go on that tiny little trail on the right. It's tempting, but it's not going to go to the right place. So stay on 4th Street. You'll see a little parking area as you go up the hill on the right. Please look carefully to your left. You'll see a trail with a bollard. That is the interurban trail. So, welcome to the interurban trail. It does get a bit tricky. There are small trails going off of it. it may be tricky to figure out how to stay on the trail. Now let's cross this street. This is 6th Street. You cross it. Stay on the trail. Coming up ahead is a fork. Please stay on the left. To the right is a small nook if you just want to hang out. Staying on the left, we're going to continue along the main trail. Again, any small side trails, you stay off of them, and you keep the street to your left, as you can see through the trees. Here, we're going to bear right, please, keeping the buildings and the streets to your left. We bear right once again. This area is tricky, so please take it slow. Just remember, keep the buildings that you can see through the trees to your left. Now coming up here, but once again, you will see buildings to your left. Just stay on the trail. You will not be crossing any streets. Coming up ahead, once again, you bear right. At some point ahead, you are going to take a right turn, but I will let you know. Just stay on the main trail. You notice I'm walking. This is a very steep uphill. Now we stay straight here, but notice that we're going to bear left. We're not going to get onto that street that you see on your right. Now here we're going to stay on the main trail. Do not go on that small trail to your left. Now here, again, stay to your left at that bollard. Now this is a very, very steep downhill. We're going to continue along on the main trail. We're going to go under Fairhaven Parkway, which leads to Chuckanut Drive. We'll be on that bridge a little bit later. Again, stay on the main trail. You will not be crossing any streets until you get here, but you just stay on the trail, keep that big bollard to your right, and do not go on the trail to your left. Now you'll see a railing to your left. After this railing, look carefully, keep an eye out for a bollard on your right that will say Fairhaven Park. You're going to turn right here. You notice a bit of a hill, which you can see me walking. Then it will lead into the trail entrance to Fairhaven Park. So, welcome to Fairhaven Park, yet another relatively unknown jewel of a park. We're going to turn left once we leave the trail to the main pavilion, which can be used for functions and events. Here's some general shots of the park. It's a very, very simple park with lots of open green areas for hanging around. It does have a small playground, and yes, it does have tennis courts. That is pretty much it. Let's take a gentle ride through the park to head towards Chuckanut Road. Chuckanut Road is the very famous scenic road that is well known not only in Bellingham, but pretty much the rest of Washington State, if not the entire Pacific coast. We're going to carefully look for traffic. And when it's safe, we're going to turn left to head south on Chuckanut Road. Unfortunately, the shoulders appear and disappear. On a regular weekday, this is a Monday or Tuesday, it's relatively quiet. Weekends it can get busy. It does have hills. You saw me walking up a hill. Now I'm coasting down a hill. What we're going to look for here is the entrance to our next park, which is called Woodstock Farm. Here is the Chuckanut Gallery, a lovely little art gallery. We're going to pass that. We're coming up onto Samish Way. We're going to ignore that. We have yet another long hill to climb, as you can see. There is a bit of a shoulder. We're going to pass the trailhead to your left, and further to your left is California Street, which will lead to the main part of the interurban trail. We're going to get onto that later. Notice that the shoulder pretty much disappears and reappears by the concrete barrier, and once again it disappears. You do need to be quite aware and alert while riding your bicycle on Chuckanut Drive. We're now coming up to the entrance to Woodstock Farm. Woodstock Farm, actually more of a suburban estate, was named for the town of Woodstock, Vermont, by its builder, Fairhaven capitalist, park creator, and civic leader Cyrus Lester Gates. The city of Bellingham purchased the farm from the heirs of Mr. Gates back in 2004 with money provided by the 1997 Greenway property tax levy. This park is ideal for weddings, family gatherings, retreats, fundraisers, and other events. The main house, the barn, and the garage, and the chicken coop are available for rental. As you can see, we are now coming up to the main house. Here you can see the main house from down below and the carriage house. Of course, the outdoor areas are open to the public at all times. It is a lovely, extremely quiet park, with the exception of the noise from the trains from down below. Here we're looking at what you would see from the main house. I'm standing with my back right up against the main house so you can see the great views that this wonderful place has. Here is the main line of the Burlington Northern Railroad, and you can see in the distance we were gifted by the presence of a train coming through, and if you watch carefully you can see the opening of the tunnel that leads through the hill and into Bellingham. If you're on a passenger train, you'll be going through that tunnel. So that's pretty much it. Oh, whoops. We got a little path off to the right, just off of the main driveway. Let's see where this goes. This delightful little path is probably better for walking rather than riding the bicycle. It does go up a bit of a hill and I had to kind of struggle to pedal. So some parts of it I gave up and walked the bicycle. It is quite well worth it. Here we're going past a railing that will lead to a delightful little viewport right up against Chuckanut Road. Fortunately, the viewport is now protected from the main road by a barrier. This was not always true. Cars used to park here, but they changed it. So now we're protected from the traffic to enjoy the great views from this cozy little nook, as you can see. Now we're going to head out of Woodstock Farm now. Once we get to Chuckanut Road, we're going to carefully turn left, constantly checking for traffic. As you can see, there is no shoulder. So please be very careful as we make our way to California Street, which will lead us to the interurban trail to take us to Larabee State Park, which is the final park on this tour. Well, here we are on California Street. Beware, this is a long, long hill to climb. Fortunately, this is a dead-end street, so there's virtually no traffic. Now you see a pedestrian sign. Right after that, on the right, is the continuation of the interurban trail. Unfortunately, there is a bridge that's been knocked out at Boulevard Park, which does not allow us to continue on the trail from Fairhaven Park. That's why we had to use Chuckanut Road. This trail can get extremely hilly at times. You notice I had to walk up the hill. The trail is pretty straightforward. There's not too many other trails going off of it on either side, unlike the first part of the trail that we were on. Yes, there are driveways, but those are obvious. You just stay on the main trail. It is a great scenic route. It can be hilly, however, and sometimes you have to take it very, very slow. And sometimes there is traffic, because part of the trail is actually on somebody's private property. So respect the privacy of the properties on either side, and yes, there'll be traffic. By the way, that is Chuckanut Road on your right. We're not going to get on it just yet. We're going to stay on the trail for quite a while. We're going to cross some small roads, but it's pretty clear where the trail continues. As you can see here, we're going to stay on the trail. The trail is paved now. It is still on private property, but it's okay to use the trail. Just respect the properties on either side. But of course, please enjoy the wonderful views that this trail gives us. Now, parts of the trail, there is an extremely steep and dangerous drop off to the right. Some of it is guarded by a fence, but not all of it. So please be very, very careful in riding this trail. If you're coming across oncoming traffic, I would stop just for safety. I've had no trouble at all with traffic on this trail. This is a weekday. It was the Tuesday after Labor Day. Now here we're walking down an extremely steep dip that I was too careful not to ride it. We're going to go across the small street at the bottom of the dip, then we have to walk back up it. And we're continuing along. It's pretty clear even here just where the trail is, and it's pretty comfortable riding here. And this is now back to the trail. Here's another dip. I rode it, but it was a bit hair-raising. I will probably walk on it next time. Here, the trail ends, and welcome back onto Chuckanut Road. We're going to carefully turn right to go northbound on Chuckanut Road. We're going to head north on Chuckanut Road for about a mile until we come to the entrance to Larabee State Park, which will be on your left. You will see a sign that warns when it's coming up, and there we are on the left. Welcome to Larabee State Park. This is a state park, so there is a fee for motor vehicles. However, as a bicyclist or pedestrian, there is no fee for a day use of the park. However, of course, there is fees for camping. I'm going to show you the camping areas first. That's going to be very brief because I would like to respect the privacy of the campers. Here is a general shot of some of the camping area. We have both vehicle camping and walk-in camping here in this park. And once we leave the camping area, we're going to make a journey to the famous beach here at Larabee State Park. By the way, the road we're on does eventually go to the rear of the amphitheater. However, I have decided to take the trails to the amphitheater just to show you some of the more delightful trails there are on this park. We're going to now get onto the trail to the beach area of the park as well as the amphitheater. Here's some restrooms on the right, and coming up on the right is a nice little covered picnic pavilion for group and family picnics that you can see. And ahead of this is the foot trail. It is too steep for bicyclists, so we're going to leave the bicycle here. Here's a general shot of the picnic area. You can see it's quite large and it is covered. Now we're going to lock the bike here and continue on foot. I must warn you, this trail is a bit treacherous. I'm taking mostly stills because it was even too tricky in parts for me to walk with the camera without falling. For some of these stills of this trail, I had to brace myself to prevent me from falling while taking some of these pictures. It's a lovely trail, but it can be quite tricky and treacherous, so it is not suitable, as you can see, for a bicycle. It leads us to this beautiful little amphitheater and meadows. It's a great place to hang out even if there's no show going on. And yes, there is a playground. Now we're going to now try to find the trail leading to the beach. I think that's it right there to the left of the stage. Now we're going to walk down this track with the camera, so bear with me. It's going to be a bit rough as you view it in the video. As you can see, here is the main line of the Burlington Northern Railroad as it heads south from Bellingham to Burlington and Mount Vernon. Fortunately, they have built a delightful little tunnel under the railroad. As you can see here, the path is quite steep. I could walk it, but it was a bit tricky. So unfortunately, our journey in the video is a bit rough. The tunnel has been graced with some delightful murals, and it has no graffiti, and it is quite clean and pleasant. On the far end of the tunnel, we're going to turn right to head down to the beach. Unfortunately, part of the journey to the beach was too steep for myself. We're standing on a protected ledge above the beach, which you can see down below. I'm showing you some of the views that you can enjoy from this part a beautiful Larabee State Park. This is Chuckanut Bay with Chuckanut Island. Great views. These were taken, well, unfortunately I had to brace myself with the camera to prevent from falling. This is Chuckanut Bay water, but you see somebody windsurfing. It is cold water. I suggest you wear a wetsuit if you're going to do any water activities here. Well, I think that's it for our visit. Let's wave thank you and goodbye to the wonderful park staff. We're going to head back north on Chuckanut Drive instead of the trail, just to show you what Chuckanut Drive can be like. Yes, it's busy. Yes, there's no shoulder, but it's much, much faster than with the trail, since it is much smoother, of course, and there's no sudden dips like there were in the trail. Now, we're coming to a sharp turn, but please look very carefully on your left. You see the views, but you see that viewpoint, which was part of the Woodstock Farm on your left. We're passing Woodstock Farm now on the left, and we make that sharp turn. Here is the entrance to Woodstock Farm. Now soon we're going to come across California Street where we entered the trail. Here is the trailhead I pointed to earlier. Remember, we're heading north on Chuckanut Road. Here is Chuckanut Gallery. We're going in the opposite direction, of course. Here's the entrance to Fairhaven Park, as seen from Chuckanut Road. We're now getting ready to enter Fairhaven, which is a part of Bellingham. And if I'm not mistaken, yes, we're now going to cross the bridge that we went under while we were on the Fairhaven part of the Interurban Trail. So welcome to Fairhaven. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Say hi when you see me. And of course, as always, I love you all. Bye-bye.